Today's adventure in retro gaming, we have a Sega Nomad. Sega Nomad came out in October of '95 and was discontinued in '97. It's basically a handheld Sega Genesis. Better screen than the Game Gear. Full library of Genesis games. Sounds like the perfect system. But it wasn't that great. The system is huge. You'll notice how large this thing is once I get it out of the box. Weighs a ton. Takes 6 AA batteries, just like the Game Gear, but less battery life, if you can believe that. Actually has less battery life than the Game Gear. You'll take a quick look at the box. Apparently the box is not in great shape. This was not originally owned by me. If it would be in better shape like the other things I've taken videos of. You'll notice there was a protective screen, I guess, originally on this to protect it in the box. Includes the Genesis Nomad 16-bit system. Made in Taiwan. We use recycled paper. Very important. Some box art. Let's see here. We have Comic Zone, which is a great game. Of course, they're putting that on there. It was one of the later Genesis releases. Looked great. Enhance Your Adventure. Look, 6-button stick. Isn't that crazy? But you can only use that as the second player. So don't think you're going to be first player with the 6-button. You have to use the controls on the Nomad if you're the first player. Power back. I have one. Sadly, it's no good anymore. It's basically a rechargeable battery, but after 15, 18 years, the rechargeable batteries in it are no good. AC adapter is basically the Model 2 plug. You just use that in there and it'll work. Car adapter. Alright, TV hookups. Yes, they released a. You could use your Model 2 Genesis connector is on the top of this, so you can hook it to your TV and use it as a full console. Let's take it out of the box. It's not a complete box like most of my my other videos, but take a look here. Whoa! Battery pack. Unlike the Game Gear, this one is separate. You put the batteries in it, lock it down, take it off. I don't know why, but they did it like that because this thing is freaking huge. It is huge. I mean, there's the size of a cartridge. And these aren't portable cartridges. They're more portable than NES or Super NES, but definitely not as portable as a Game Gear or a Game Boy. But at the time, the graphics on this thing were amazing. Just think of TurboGrafx 16 with a lot more games. Same kind of graphics, better games. In my opinion, the Genesis had way better games because there were so many of them. I mean, there was a lot of stinkers, but when your library was this big, you could afford to have more stinkers. So, take a look around. See the front. The D-pad is different. I don't find it bad. It's just kind of springy, and I like the original D-pad way better. Got 6 face buttons, so you can play 6-button games. Mode, start, low battery light. The screen's in pretty good shape on this one. A little bit scuffed up, not nearly as bad as some others I've seen. We got the power button, which is red. That kind of looks out of place. There's the power if you want to just plug it into the wall. There's the Genesis Model 2 AV out. Cartridge slot. Nothing on this side. Bottom. Second player. So there's where the joystick comes in. Second player can use better controls if they want. Phone, headphones, volume, brightness. There's where the battery pack will lock on. I'll show you that in a second. And I mean, that's it. There is nothing else to this. It has some heft to it. But as heavy as I said it was, it's not as heavy as you would think it would be for what it is. It's a whole Genesis plus a TV set built into one. And you'll see in the screen is actually better than the Game Gear's, which really isn't that hard to do since the Game Gear screen was pretty terrible. Battery pack just goes on. If I don't break it. Locks down. It's on. It's ready to go. Ready to play for an hour and a half. That's about it. That's all you're getting out of that's an hour and a half. Grab a game. See how good this is. See if it just starts right up. Adjust the brightness because I think look at that. Comes right on if we don't get the lights. Oh yeah. Lightning Force. for the Sega Genesis. It's a great shooter. Hard. If you like hard shmups, this is one to get. A lot of reflection. The screen is super reflective, and you get to pick this game a little bit. It's pretty neat. So let's select the stage. See how good the controls are. See if I can get the screen. It's hard, kind of hard to see. I mean, this is a really good game also for a portable because it's a good shmup. Pause that. But you can see the screen actually looks a lot better. I don't know if I can get really close here. You can see how much better this screen looks than the Game Gear. Now, it does suffer a lot of the 90s screen problems. Turn it a little too much each direction, it gets a little wonky. And turn the power off here. When you turn it back and forth, it gets wonky. So, the problem with these, when you find them in the wild, this thing is missing a lot of times. People lost it. I don't know how they lose it so much. You would think they'd want to keep track. You can see somebody else has their name already inscribed on this one. But other than that, it's worth buying. I think this is so awesome. This would have been, when I was younger, if I would have had this would have been so awesome to have. Because I already had Genesis games. But this was a little pricey. I think it came out around, I want to say between $180 and $200. But I'm not 100% sure. But it dropped in price significantly later on in its life, when they tried to sell them out. If you can find one, pick it up. It's worth keeping. And if for anything, instead of breaking out the Genesis every time you get a new game, you can always try it out on this. See if it's worth playing on a TV, because if you're like me, you collect just about any game. And I recommend this game. Oh, let's see. Maybe that game's a little hard. Maybe we'll use the Game Genie with it. And yes, it works with the Game Genie. But let's say we wanted to play, I don't know, Sonic and Knuckles. That sounds awesome. Let's play a little Sonic and Knuckles. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, wait. Let's play it with Sonic 3. Now, that's absurd. And that can happen. And yes, that does work. It almost seems like it shouldn't, but it does. Look at that. It almost seems like it needs 10 more batteries just to power all that awesome. Now, that would be even better if we could hook the 32X, but you cannot. The 32X actually blocks the video plug. Now, there's mods out there. People have figured out ways to do it because the hardware is in here. But look at that. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Working. On a Sega Nomad. Oh, man, this is crazy. I think the world may end. Anyway, it just kind of shows you how absurd some of this stuff could get. And why this probably didn't work out in the end. Part of it is expensive. Parents weren't buying this for the kid. The kid would say, well, do you really need that? You can play it at home. So, and the Genesis at this point, by 1995, was already rather cheap. I'm not sure how much it was, but I'm sure it was sub $100 for a Genesis. So, if you can get one now, when they only sold, I think I've seen where they only sold about 1 million of these things. So they're not as common as some other things to collect for. And especially, even though this box is terrible, I've never seen another one in the box in the wild. This was the first time I seen one in the box available. So I went ahead and picked it up, and it was actually a really good deal. I think someone had just traded it in to get some store credit at a local place. So he didn't have it marked up too high yet, maybe because he didn't get a chance to look it up. So I got it for a reasonable price. I think it was $50 a few years ago. But if you can pick one of these up for under $100, I actually would recommend that. It's not like the games are expensive. You can get, like, what, $5. I think $2 for Sonic and Knuckles. If you went the flat, maybe it's a couple dollars more. Lightning Force is not a super common game. I had to pay a little bit extra for this, but I looked for it, and I wanted one with a great label, and I actually have the full box complete with this. And that's what I wanted. Sega Genesis had some of the best shoot-'em-ups ever. So if you like shoot-'em-ups, and you don't have a Sega Genesis, but I don't know why you're watching this if you don't know that the Sega Genesis has good games, pick one up. I mean, Genesises are still cheap. Now, don't wait any longer if you want to get a Sega Genesis. You wait any longer, this stuff is going to get outrageously priced. Because only a few years ago, you could pick a Sega Genesis up for $5. Now you're looking at $20 to $30. And if you want a Model 1, like the original one that said high definition graphics, that cost even more. Model 2s are still cheap. Model 3s are actually a little more because they didn't make them that often. They weren't even made by Sega. They were made by Majesco. So if you're going to collect, go ahead and get one of these if you can. If not, get a regular Genesis. Get the Model 2. It's cheap. It's fine. At least then your wire will work when you do get one of these. Lightning Force, the game I showed you, I actually have a small gameplay video already on my channel. 30 seconds just showing what the graphics look like on that game. So if you want to take a look at that, go ahead. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe and like it, and go to gamecollect.in to keep track of all your games. Thanks.